Our presenter tonight is the author of Chaplin's Vintage Years. He's also the author of a really good book on Dragnet, a great book on Harry Langdon called Little Elf, and he's in the process of writing a book on Larry Seaman, which might be the one I'm looking forward to the most. He is extremely knowledgeable on film and television history, particularly strong at research. We'll throw something out, and next thing you know, Michael's got the answer for us. This is a great book, and I think you'll see tonight it's a great subject matter, Charlie Chaplin. But to give us a few thoughts about tonight's program, I would like to present Michael Hayde.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you all for coming out this evening. Chaplin's Vintage Year is not so much a Charlie Chaplin story as it is the story of the 12 comedies that he made for the Mutual Film Corporation, more specifically for a company called the Lone Star Film Corporation, which was owned by Mutual. Now, just to get started, by a show of hands, please, how many people in the audience are reasonably familiar with these comedies? And you can see the titles of some of them up toward the top. How many people are reasonably familiar with these comedies, and you're mainly here to enjoy seeing them with an audience? Okay. How many people here have never seen these films before in your lives? Oh, are you people in for a treat? And even if you've seen the films, you're in for a treat, because 3 of them are coming from brand new restorations that were done over in Europe over the past 2 years through the cooperation of several archives around the world, including this one right here. Now, I never intended to write the book. I was researching something else when I came across this ad. And I thought, that's gorgeous. Why haven't I seen this in one of the thousands of books about Charlie Chaplin? So I emailed some friends of mine, and as it happens, all 3 of them are here. There's Rob Farr, who founded Slapstick-On, and who I believe owns every book ever written about a silent comedian. Steve Massa, who hosted last night and wrote the excellent book Lame Brains and Lunatics, and apparently can name every comedian who ever stepped in front of a hand-cranked camera. And the gentleman to my left, Ben Modell, who, as Rob told you, is not only a world-class accompanist, I'll say it right if it kills me, but he also produced 2 DVDs of films that were accidentally preserved, as he terms it. Now, all of these gentlemen make it a point to keep up with silent comedy scholarship. So I asked them all, is there a book that tells the full story of the Chaplin Mutuals? And they all said no. Go for it. Next slide, please. Now, when Chaplin signed with the Mutual Film Corporation for a year at $10,000 per week, plus $150,000 bonus just for doing what he's doing right now, putting his name on a piece of paper, he'd only been in pictures for 2 years. And the Mutual company had only been in business for about 4. The man on the left, president of Mutual, John Freuler, later said in his retirement that his peers all called him crazy for paying so much money to a flicker comedian. Then he would point out that the company cleared $700,000 profit on a worldwide gross of $3.3 million. Now that was in 1919. Next slide. Thank you. The films in 1919, Freuler sold them, and they were reissued again and again. They were changing hands every 6 years or so. Now this was an important factor on the film's survival. And since this is primarily a house of restoration and rescue of film, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Now, most films in those days were made directly from the camera negatives. And for a start, Mutual printed about 300 copies of each title. And when they came out again over the course of those years, the negatives eventually deteriorated from the constant use, and also in some cases due to neglect. One of the reasons I did the book was to find out why there were so many changes in ownership and what happened to the people and the companies that put the films out. Next slide, please. There were 4 distinct US release periods for the Chaplin mutuals. The easiest way to identify them is through the captions for the intertitles. These 4 examples come from a comedy called 1 AM, which coincidentally was the least popular of the 12 with exhibitors. The one on the upper left is actually an original, a much projected Lone Star, original of Reel 1 from 1916, that was accidentally preserved by Black Hawk Films in the early 1950s. Chaplin's Vintage Year explains why the original mutual prints are extinct, but without this one stray reel, we would have no clue that this is how the intertitles were originally designed. Most of the films you'll see tonight use recreations of this design to try to recapture how the films originally looked when they were first released. Now, the one on the upper right is approximately how the titles looked during the first reissue period beginning in 1919. This one was actually a recreation by Black Hawk Films based on Kodascope 16mm prints that were issued in the mid-1920s. And because those were the first versions of the mutuals to actually make it onto a safety film, it's the format that is most closely associated with the mutual releases, and that's kind of why I used that design for the title of my book on the front cover. The bottom left design comes from their third owner, the Export and Import Company. They reissued the 12 in over 1927 and 28, just as the silent era was drawing to a close. And the bottom right is one of the few intertitles that were used by the Van Buren Corporation, who were RKO's short subject provider during the early 1930s. Van Buren bought the Chaplins in 1932, turned them over to their animated cartoon division to have music and sound effects added. And in 1941, RKO sold those films to a company called Guaranteed Pictures, and it's those versions that started turning up on television beginning in the 1950s. Now, all of this and much more is spelled out in my book, hopefully in an entertaining way. Now, with the next slide, we'll go on to what we're doing tonight. You're going to see 4 of the mutuals. The first is the Rink from 1916. It's number 8 in the series. The poster is a reissue, and the print you'll see comes from approximately 1921, and it has the original the original reissue intertitles, so you'll get to see that design. The second one will be The Cure from 1917, which was number 10, and this is from the new restoration as well as the next 2, and it is the most complete version of this title that I've ever seen, and it's a joy to watch. The next one is The Immigrant. That's number 11 in the series, and it's the only one of the mutuals included on the National Film Registry. It's the oldest Chaplin film on the list, and it's the only Chaplin short comedy on the list. Now, Chaplin's features are very well represented on the registry, but we need you happy taxpayers to start requesting the shorts as well. And you can find out how to do that at the library's website, which is on every copy of the calendar that we hand out here. And finally, we'll run number 12, The Adventurer, which is included tonight at the personal request of Rob Stone. Unfortunately, there's a mistake in the cast credit. The actress who portrays Edna's mother in The Adventurer is named Janet Miller Sully, not Marta Golden. Now, I contacted the company that did the restoration, but as you can guess, that's not the sort of mistake that's going to trigger a massive recall. So I just wanted to point that out so that you people will know something that the 98% who see this without me there to tell them will not know. So you're all getting some special knowledge tonight. Now, if there's time and interest, I'll be happy to answer any questions after the show, and of course, I'll be even happier to sell you some books. Thank you very much, and enjoy it.